Hi my good people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Kindly consider subscribing, watch the video to the end. It's an inspiring talk. I will talk about what I've entitled as Young and Unfocused, based on my own life experience growing up as a young girl, as a child. And I hope you'll be inspired and you learn something from this video. So watch the video to the end, and you can also share it with your loved ones so that they can get inspired. And I will start by talking about a growing child. When you ask any child what they would love to become when they grow up, definitely they'll give you a figure that they admire, someone who inspires them, and sometimes something that they love based on their current situation or environment. So growing up, I was not so much exposed because my entire life was in the village, and as a young girl growing up, I did not know what I would like to become. As in, if you would have asked me at that time, I had no idea, especially in my primary school days. I was just a child. I finished my education and see what life has. And so this maybe might be contributed to the factors that the village was small, and our environment, growing up, our environment, there was a lot of scarcity, a lot of struggles, and there were a few people that we would look upon. The only thing that we had was a radio. At least we had a radio. We could listen to news, we could listen to those radio presenters. And so when I finished my primary school, I went to a high school, and my vision or my dream was to become a news anchor. I loved radio, and I looked forward to become not a radio presenter but a news anchor. Why a news anchor? Because in my mind, I felt like when I become a news anchor, people will watch me. I will have a name to myself. It was all for the wrong reasons. So I thought, so I really loved the news anchoring thing, not a reporter, not anyone else. I just wanted to appear on the screens so that at least those who despised me can watch me. Because I had a very low self-esteem, I didn't have courage. I was sort of intimidated, and I felt like just going out there and being a news anchor will just give me a name and make me something worth watching, you know. So all my vision and my ambition, let me say, it was for all wrong reasons. Because I believe if you want to become something, it's something that will bring value to the community, and also something that will bring fulfillment to you, purpose, identity. So I was really struggling with identity crisis. I didn't have an identity. I didn't fully understand who I am, and I felt like the factors and circumstances that surrounded me made me who I am. And so I felt like watu walinidharau, like people looked down on me. And one thing I've realized, that if you have a problem with yourself, you will feel like everyone has a problem with you. Trust me. Anything, even a small comment, a small mean comment, You start looking down on yourself, you start despising yourself, you start feeling like you'll amount to nothing, especially the statements that are made by teachers. I'm sorry to say, some teachers are so mean, and even some parents, and even some students, fellow students. I remember growing up, I was very tiny. So even going to high school, I was this tiny girl. My body had not developed. I was a very tiny one. And also this increased my insecurities. So I really felt intimidated by everything around me. And I remember there was a young man who used to make a joke, and always, whenever we meet, he will ask me, "Will you ever grow?" And that made me feel bad. I really started asking myself, "Will I ever grow, or do I have a problem?" So, okay, back to my narration. So, I finished my high school. And finishing high school, being a firstborn, I had my siblings, and they had to reach up to my level. So I had a fee balance, and I had to go, and I took a house help job because when I finished high school, when I completed from 4, I was still young to start processing identification card. Uh, I was still 17 years, so I had to wait until I attained the age of 18. Then I start the process. So in the meantime, I felt like I can go and make money and clear the arrears so that I can get my certificates. And that was what I did. One time a relative came to approach me to go and work for them. The pay was very small, but I took it in because I felt like when I work for 1 year, I'll be able to clear the balance, or the balance will just remain um, a lesser amount, that it will not be much struggle. So I took in the job and I went for a house help job, and this is where I come in as unfocused. Because when I went to the city the first time, my very first time going to a city, a Nairobi city, from the village, and I reached the place and I lost focus. Being a young girl, having not held much amount of money, now I was being paid my own, even though it was not much, but I saw my needs. I kept my needs first. And I started buying myself things, the trending low class clothes that trended at that time, shoes and everything that I felt good to buy with my money, and some I ate. Yeah, and when the time came to go back home, I had nothing to myself. I will term it as a pocket change, a shopping, and my new clothes. And so I went back and I had to start again because even the money that I had could not even attain or clear half of the balance that was in school. The balance was 10K then, and it was an era where you could not get your certificates before clearing your school fee balance. And so I went home, and now that I had attained I had attained the age of 18, I started processing an ID, which was an entire tiring and whole process again. So that really took my time. And then after that, I was approached by another person to go and work for them again as a house help. This time I went determined and very focused, but unfortunately something happened that I didn't even manage to go past the second month because I had to flee from that home. I will narrate this episode in another video because it was quite an episode, but I fled without a coin. And now what next? I didn't know what to do. By the way, I was just there, and now I felt like, okay, maybe my parents will step in, and by God's grace, truly a well-wisher, and my parents stepped in and they cleared my fees and I got my certificates. So what is the aim of making this video? The very first time I went to the first home, I could have kept my focus. Yes, when you get money, you see things and you feel like you deserve the things. But at that moment, I had a bigger goal, which when I decided to go and work, that was the main thing. But I lost focus. So, as a young lady who's listening to me, I would like to urge you that even in your very young age, just be focused. There are very few girls, there are very few young people who are focused from the word go. But again, the circumstances mostly dictate, because when you grow up in a poor background, you didn't have a privilege to get some things. When you go out there, you find them in plenty and maybe you can be able to afford. You start hoarding and then you forget your goal. But I would like to urge young people, anyone who is listening to me, just keep your focus, keep your goal, no matter what will happen. And then again, just get knowledge on finances. Today there are so many avenues on how you can invest and save money. Just get the knowledge early enough, because when the years go by, you will regret. Trust me, you'll regret, because you realize that you wasted a lot in your prime years, and then you start now rebuilding on your later years. And this is not easy, because now responsibilities come and you find out that there's so many things that hinder when you are grown up, especially when your income is not much. So just be focused from the word go. Get an investment, save if you can, and keep to your goal. One day you'll just look back and appreciate the fact that you were focused and you never lost it like me. Now I look back and I'm like, if I knew what I know now, I could be maybe much step ahead, very many steps ahead. But again, it's sometimes life happens and you have to start rebuilding from where you attain knowledge from. So thank you for keeping it here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. See you next time.